The Galactic Council Hall was quiet. Too quiet. All eyes were on the center ring, where Earth's delegation stood still and silent. High Chancellor Ralph Thun of the Threx Dominion leaned forward on his crystal stand. His voice echoed across the chamber. We hereby declare that Earth's membership is revoked. The humans are too emotional, too dangerous, too unpredictable. He paused. No cheers followed. Only low whispers. The human representatives did not speak. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, a calm woman in a gray suit, simply nodded once and slowly picked up her datapad. Her colleagues stood too. Not one word, not one protest. They turned and walked away. Aliens watched, confused. Wait, muttered Counselor Brex of the Joro Hive. They're not saying anything? No formal objection? Asked a blue-skinned diplomat from the Wari Confederacy. Maybe they accepted the vote? Someone laughed, but Ambassador Vasquez did not look defeated. She looked calm, still, unshaken. As the human group walked toward the exit, a hush fell over the council floor. A small, silver-haired Zorvani ambassador rose slowly. His face had gone pale. He whispered. They said nothing. Others shrugged. So, said Chancellor Ralthun, we won. They lost. The Zorvani elder turned to face him. No, you fool, he said quietly. You don't understand. That's the worst thing they could have done. Now the council murmurs began to grow louder, nervous. They had expected outrage, maybe even threats. Instead, Earth gave them silence. Calm silence. No emotion. No anger. No warships outside. Nothing got outside the chamber. The human delegation stepped into their shuttle without a word. The door closed with a soft hiss. The engines glowed. And then Dash vanished. Back inside, the council slowly began to return to order. But something had changed. The Wari diplomat turned to her aide. Check if Earth has responded to the vote yet. The aide stared at his console. No signals, not even basic data updates. They've gone dark. Another hour passed, and a day. Earth did not file an appeal. No messages came from any Terran station. No news from Mars, Titan, or Luna. Trade routes once filled with Terran ships were now empty. Then came the first whisper from a neutral sector. Small cargo ship trying to land on Mars was denied entry. The orbital platform had changed all its codes. Human systems no longer accepted council credentials. And still no words. No reply. 3 days later, Chancellor Ralph Thun held a private meeting with his top advisors. They're just trying to make us nervous, he said. They're playing a political game. But deep down, he was unsure. No culture the council had ever met responded like this. Most species cried out, begged, argued. Not humans. They simply walked away. On the sixth day, a message arrived. Not from Earth, but from a survivor. A scout ship had entered Terran space, without warning. The last thing they sent back was a broken transmission, static, and a single sentence. They were already waiting. Then silence. The scout vanished. No wreckage. No distress signal. Just gone. Back in the council, the Zorvani elder stood once more. He looked around the room, at the proud races that believed themselves powerful. You've made a grave mistake, he said softly. Counselor Brex hissed, we did nothing wrong. The Zorvani closed his eyes. You didn't listen. And now, they've listened and judged you unworthy. Of what? Someone asked. Of their voice. The elder opened his eyes. Humans only go silent when they've already made a decision. You don't understand yet, but you will. Then he left the chamber, shaking his head. The council sat in confusion, some laughing, others whispering. But in the shadows of the galaxy, humanity had already begun something far greater than war. They were walking away, and the stars were following. For the first time in 70 cycles, the galactic trade hub on Titan's orbit went completely dark. No ships. No noise. No human presence. The usual traffic cargo, diplomats, students, engineers was gone. The humans had left their stations empty. Systems still worked. Lights still blinked. But there were no voices. The silence was louder than any explosion. Ambassador Sharn of the Krell Alliance sat on her long silver tail, staring at the screen in her quarters. No human comes. No response, her assistant said, confused. Should we send a probe? No, she said softly. Not yet. She remembered stories, old ones, about what humans did when they were quiet. Not calm, but quiet. On the planet Virik 6, Council scientists attempted contact with Earth's research base. The signal bounced back. Denied. The humans had locked out every communication protocol, even the emergency codes used during disasters. It was as if Earth had cut the galaxy out of its life. One brave engineer tried to send a direct voice message. This is Engineer Paul Toff of the Council Scientific Network. We mean no harm. We request communication for peaceful study. Please respond. He waited. 1 hour. Then 2. Then, finally, a reply came through. But it wasn't a voice. It was a single, slow beating sound. A human heart. Thump. Thump. Then static. Paul-TAV shut off the console and backed away, his scales trembling. On Garanok Prime, the head of trade relations, Velix Rowe demanded answers. This is childish. They're acting like spoiled children. He shouted in a meeting room filled with dozens of species. Who? Someone asked. The humans. We took away their voting rights, and now they've vanished. The room was tense. No one dared to agree. Because now things were changing. Reports came in of human-built machines simply shutting down across council space, drones, tools, even agriculture bots. Nothing dangerous. Just disconnected. As if Earth had flicked a switch. One trader from the Relic Syndicate grunted. Our cargo lines ran through Earth routes. Now, empty? Ghost space. It's like they pulled the stars with them. A deep cold settled in the room. Meanwhile, in deep space, a lone Council scout ship moved carefully through Sector Delta 9, near old human borders. They approached an old listening post, once co-run by Terran and Trellan engineers. It was still there, powered. Online, but no lights on inside. Permission to dock? The pilot asked. No response. Running external scan, said the co-pilot. The scan returned only one strange signal, a blinking human distress beacon. But the signal was decades old. Why was it broadcasting now? Wait, said the co-pilot, frowning. Something's wrong. What is it? That signal. It's on a loop, but the loop contains a code and old Terran cipher. A pilot leaned in. The message decoded slowly, then revealed 5 chilling words. We see. We remember. Watching. The crew backed away. Leave now. In the Galactic Council, fear had become a whisper. No one said it aloud, but every delegate began noticing the pattern. Earth had not gone quiet out of fear, but out of decision. They didn't want war. They didn't want peace. They wanted distance. Total separation. Back in the quiet of Earth's solar system, the planet looked peaceful. Blue oceans. White clouds. But no ships moved in orbit. No broadcasts. No diplomats. Only a silent, invisible wall surrounding every Terran system, quiet. Unbreakable. Like a fortress made of absence. And deep beneath the Earth's surface, inside a forgotten bunker, a small group of humans sat at a long table. One of them, General Soren Vale, stared at a blank screen with folded hands. Any messages from the Council? Someone asked. No, he said. Should we respond? No. The group sat silently. Then Soren stood, tapped a single button. Across dozens of human colonies, private networks activated, military systems calibrated, civilian AI systems reprogrammed to self-manage everything, without a single word to the outside galaxy. Because Earth didn't need to shout. Earth didn't need warships to make its point. Earth was already moving forward. Without them. In the halls of the council, a single diplomat, once arrogant, now sat alone with a growing fear. She whispered to herself, staring out into the stars. They didn't leave us. They left us behind. The galaxy didn't shatter all at once. It cracked quietly, piece by piece. Small things almost invisible began to change. Cargo drones that once relied on human encryption stopped working. Medical AI used in over 50 systems designed by Terran engineers froze mid-surgery. Spaceport docks on remote moons failed to open. Ships that used Earth's old mapping networks drifted off course. Some never returned. The Council had spent years depending on Terran tech. Now, with Earth silent, the galaxy was starting to feel the absence, like an old wound reopening. On the planet Cyrix 4, Commander Hall Talk of the Jarn Empire stood over. A black box retrieved from a ghost ship, a freighter that disappeared after entering an old Terran lane. No signs of attack? He asked his technician. No, Commander. No weapons. No impact. The crew log ended mid-entry. What was the last entry? The tech played it. A human voice, female, calm. Engine error? Rerouting through backup navgrid. It's like something's watching, and silence. No screams. No alarms. Just a dead ship, floating in perfect condition, as if it had been paused. Commander Haltok narrowed his eyes. They didn't die. They were taken. The technician stepped back. Taken? By who? The commander said nothing, because deep down, he already knew. Meanwhile, on Vardak 9, a mining colony that used Terran autodiggers, the machines had stopped all work at once. When Council engineers tried to restart them, the systems locked them out with a phrase in human English. Unauthorized. Touch, this is not yours. The miners panicked. Not because of the shutdown, but because the message wasn't in the code. It had been added by someone. Recently. Back on the Council homeworld, Chancellor Ralthun faced a private report from the Galactic Intelligence Board. He read the report 3 times. It didn't make sense. We're seeing Terran vessels in places they shouldn't be, the chief agent explained. Human ships? Ralthun snapped. But Earth's fleet is grounded. We removed them from defense protocols. Not there. Military ships, the old ones, silent runners, scout probes, black box drones. Where? The agent took a deep breath. Everywhere. All sectors, all major borders. As if they knew this would happen. The Chancellor dropped the report. His voice shook. They planned this. In a bar on a trade station near Kepler Drift, an old alien smuggler named Voro turned to a younger. Pilot, you ever wonder why they didn't say anything? He asked, sipping dark green liquid. The pilot shrugged. Cowards? Couldn't handle the vote. No, Voro said. I was there. I saw their faces. That wasn't fear. And what was it? Voro leaned in close, his voice lowered. It was patience. The pilot laughed. What kind of species gets insulted, kicked out, and just walks away? The kind that doesn't need to fight you to destroy you, Voro replied. The kind that already knows how the story ends. Out on the edge of known space, near the burned rim, a mercenary fleet tried to raid a derelict human station. No response. No defense. Just drifting power cores and empty corridors. Piece of junk, the pirate captain growled, landing with his squad. They moved in, weapons ready. No lights, no alarms. Just stillness. Loot everything, the captain ordered. Then, his comms went dead, his entire ship. Turned off. Powerless. His crew screamed over open comms, but no one came to help, because the only thing that replied was a human AI voice from the station's core. You were warned. Leave Earth's silence untouched. Then the station vanished. From all long-range sensors. Gone. Like a shadow fading into space. The council began to panic. Not publicly. Not officially. But behind closed doors, meetings turned desperate. Open contact. One diplomat shouted, "They won't answer." Another replied, "Send gifts. Apologies. Something." But Earth had made no demands. No threats. They didn't ask for respect. They simply left. And somehow, that was worse, because it meant humanity didn't need the galaxy anymore. At an emergency council meeting, the Zorvani elder returned. He walked to the center chamber. Slow, silent. "Your technology is breaking," he said. "Your networks are failing." He turned to look each species in the eye. "It is not an attack. It is not war. It is the withdrawal of trust." "What do you mean?" Someone asked. The elder sighed. "Earth was the spine of your progress. You leaned too hard. You laughed when they carried you, and when you kicked them down." He paused. "You realized too late. They were the ones holding you up." Asterisk. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was packed. Representatives from all 72 species sat in silence. No one spoke. No one dared to laugh. The usual noise of politics, debates, insults, trade disputes was gone. Something had changed. Something cold now hung in the air. It was fear. At the center, the Zorvani elder stood. His white robes shimmered with old starlight, and his thin fingers held a small black cube, the ancient symbol of a galactic emergency. Only once in history had a Zorvani carried the cube into the council. That time, an entire system disappeared. Now, it was happening again. "I warned you," the elder said softly. His voice didn't need to be loud. It carried across every row. "You thought silence meant surrender, that walking away meant weakness. But you forgot what humans are." The chancellor of the Threx Dominion tried to protest. "This is all emotional nonsense. Earth left, so what? Let them sulk." The Zorvani elder slowly turned to face him. "No, they didn't sulk. They vanished. And still, your ships go missing." He raised the tube. A hologram flickered to life, showing deep space sensor readings. One by one, tiny council outposts flickered, then blinked out. No weapons fired, no debris, just gone. "This isn't war," the elder said. "This is correction." He looked to the side wall. "Play the recording." A trembling Krell technician tapped the control panel. The hall dimmed. A shaky video began. Council soldiers aboard a scout cruiser, investigating a quiet station on the edge of Terran space. "We're approaching the core," one said. Another whispered, "Feels wrong in here. Like something's watching." Suddenly, static, screams. A blinding light. Then a final message. A simple Terran I voice. "You dismissed us. We didn't forget." The screen went dark. Murmurs broke out. Someone from the back shouted, "But Earth has no power. Their fleet is ancient." The elder gave a sad smile. "You never understood their power. It was never in their ships." Pause. "Their power is in their silence, in their planning, in what they don't say." He turned slowly, voice sharpening. "You see empty space. They see coordinates. You hear nothing. They are listening." A young diplomat from the Solari species stood, clearly afraid. "What do we do? Send apologies?" The elder nodded. "If they accept them. What if they don't?" The elder closed his eyes, then prepared to live in a galaxy without Earth. Back on the Zorvani homeworld, A secret chamber deep beneath their temple flickered with warnings. A group of Zorvani monks sat around a glowing sphere. Inside it, Earth rotated silently. One of the monks whispered, "They're watching us even now." Another answered, "Of course. They want to see who will bend and who will break." On a far edge of space, a council ambassador named Vel. Raka flew to an old Terran colony world to offer a peace gift, a rare gemstone from his people. He landed alone, stepped into the dusty wind, and held up the stone. "I come in peace," he said into the still air. No reply. He walked further. He saw no humans, only a message etched into a metal wall. 5 words. Clean. Sharp. "You voted us out. So be it." Then a shadow passed over him. He looked up and saw it a Terran surveillance. Drone, no weapons. Just watching. It blinked red once and flew away. He dropped the stone and ran. In the council's lower chambers, fear became policy. Trade routes were revised. Patrols doubled. Some members even pulled out of border treaties. But it didn't matter, because none of them could stop the feeling that Earth was still out there. Not gone. Just silent. And silence, they now understood, was the most terrifying. Response of all. At the end of the session, as the council began to break apart in worry and shame, the Zorvani elder spoke one last time. No species should ever beg for war. He paused, eyes glowing faintly, but begging for peace. That may be the only thing left. Across the galaxy, everyone waited. For a word, a whisper, a sign. Anything. It had been 40 standard days since Earth walked away. No ambassador returned. No transmissions came. No ships responded. Tried everything. Diplomatic envoys, peace offerings, even old Terran friends. But nothing worked. It was as if humanity had erased itself from the galactic stage, without lifting a finger. Until now. On the edge of council territory, at a neutral research station orbiting a dead moon, something changed. Dr. Erev Kiral, a Zantari linguist, stared at his console. His claws hovered above the screen. "Sir," his assistant whispered, "we have something." He leaned closer. "A message?" She nodded. "Yes, but it's not from any known channel. It's piggybacking off an ancient Earth probe." Kiral squinted. "They're using old tech." "No, they're using our old tech, modified with their silence." The screen blinked. No sound. No video. Just plain human text on a black background. "We will not return, but we remember." Just that. One sentence. 6 words. Dr. Kiral stared at it for several seconds. What does it mean?" his assistant asked. Kiral sat back slowly. "It means they've moved on, but they haven't forgiven." The message spread like wildfire. It was the first communication from Earth in over a month. Shared, reposted, analyzed, debated. Some said it was a warning, others a goodbye, but a few saw something deeper. "It's not a threat," said Ambassador Televa of the Varn Coalition. "It's a declaration. They're done with us." Her advisor frowned. "Then why are we scared?" She answered, "Because we don't know what they're doing now." In a dark council control room, Admiral Corven reviewed star traffic records. Systems across neutral zones showed strange movement patterns. Ships without identification. No heat signatures. No biosigns. "But they move like Terran scouts," said his officer. "Ghost ships?" the Admiral asked. "No," the officer replied. "Just very quiet ships." Another report came in. Pirate vessels entering old Terran space, then vanishing. No. Distress calls. No wreckage, only silence. The Admiral whispered, "This is their message." 2. At the same time, in a small university on Tyran Vex, Professor Lurov held a lecture on Terran psychological warfare. "This, my students," he said, pointing at the screen showing the message, "is classic human behavior. A brave." Student raised a hand, but there's no anger, no demands. Luroth smiled grimly. "Exactly. They are not playing a game. They're setting a stage." "For what?" the student asked. The lights dimmed slightly as Luroth answered. "For U.S. to realize we're not needed in their story anymore." In the deep cold of Sector 31F, a lost region on no official map, a single civilian ship stumbled upon a massive field of satellites, thousands, all inactive. All Terran. The captain, a Saurian named Drexel, tried to send a scan. Nothing happened. He flew closer. One satellite turned slowly and aimed directly at his ship. No weapons fired, but every system aboard his vessel shut. Down. His ship drifted. The only thing that appeared on the console was a single word: observe. The ship reactivated 6 minutes later, untouched. Drexel turned his vessel around and never went back. The council gathered again in emergency session. "What do we do now?" asked a shaking Virelian leader. "They are watching," said another. "They are showing us they can end us without firing." Once, Chancellor Ralthun was pale, no longer proud. He whispered, "Can we still make peace?" No one answered until a small voice came from the visitor's box. A young alien translator, barely of age, stood with shaking hands. She read from her data slate. "A second message has arrived." Every being turned to face her. She read aloud, "We are not angry. We are not your enemy. But we are no longer your crutch. We choose a different path. Please do not follow." And that was it. No signature. No request. Just the end. Outside, across the stars, Council fleets pulled back. Traders refused routes near Terran borders. Children whispered stories about the people of the quiet sky. And in a quiet room on Earth's moon, a single man stared out at the stars. He smiled. "They're finally learning," he said. "They thought we left in silence." He turned off the screen. "But really, we're listening to see who speaks next." The council prepared for war, but the war never came. And that was the most terrifying part. Fleet commanders across 5 systems were on high alert. Warships lined up like sharp teeth in orbit. Missiles were loaded. Shields raised. Drones deployed. But Earth sent. Nothing. No ships. No fighters. No battle cries. Just the same silence that now haunted every corridor of the Galactic Council. High Admiral Vosh Kull of the Morian Fleet stood on the deck of his flagship Sunbreaker. Before him hovered a massive holomap of Terran space. "Invasion zones ready," his officer said. Vosh hinted at the border. "And Earth? Still no response?" "None, sir. They haven't fired." "Haven't even moved." Vosh Kull growled. "Then we make them move." He raised a clawed hand. "Enter Terran space. Begin tactical scan." The fleet moved in. Slowly. Cautiously. At first, nothing happened. They passed old human satellites. Cold. Dark. Past Terran colonies. Abandoned. Or hidden. Still. No resistance. "Perhaps they truly are broken," one officer whispered. "Or maybe," Vosh Kull muttered, "they want us to think that." Then the lights aboard Sunbreaker dimmed. Every ship in the fleet across 6 sectors went dark. No power. No sound. No control. Every system flickered with one single phrase in Terran script. "You wanted war. We removed the need." Across the galaxy, similar events occurred. A weapons depot on Dalakar 2 suddenly self-locked. A deep space fuel relay built with Terran tech exploded in silence, precisely calculated to avoid casualties but wipe its own schematics. Even advanced Council or AI systems began glitching only, the ones that relied on code once developed by Terran engineers, which was nearly all of them. But there were no human fleets outside, waiting. No invasion, no retaliation. A galaxy was being disarmed gently strategically without a single shot. And that made every admiral, every general, every warlord tremble, because it meant the war was never going to be fought that had already been decided. And Earth had already won. In a dusty archive on Velkar Prime, a scholar named Iltor uncovered a decades-old report. It had been buried after Earth first joined the Council. The report was titled, Terran Psychological Protocols, Strategic Silence as Counterweapon. Iltor read slowly, his eyes widening. It explained everything. When humans walk away, it is not surrender. It is phase 1. When they stop speaking, it is not weakness. It is a warning. And when they begin to disappear, it is because you are no longer important in their plan. Iltor rushed to share it, but it was too late. Council leaders gathered once again, this time without press, without noise, without pride. Chancellor Ralphon finally spoke, his voice thin. Perhaps we misunderstood everything. Ambassador Taleva nodded grimly. We thought silence was a void, but it was a mirror. A mirror of what? She looked out the window. Our own arrogance. Elsewhere, far from the Council's reach, inside a hidden Terran observatory beneath Europa's ice crust, a man named Director Cameron Reyes stood before a global map. His eyes were calm. We could have crushed them, said his assistant. So many chances. Rhys smiled faintly. Yes, but that's not power. Then what is? Reyes turned to face him, making your enemies choose peace without realizing they never had another option. He turned back to the map. They fear our weapons, he said. But now, they fear something worse. What's that? Our absence. Back in Council space, fear turned to confusion. Who do you strike when there is no enemy? How do you prepare for a silence that disables your entire way of life? And how do you fight a people who already left the battlefield? On a lonely outpost floating between stars, a final Council patrol officer received one last message. No sender. No origin. Just words. Words that echoed through the stars. You forced us to choose. We chose silence. You chose fear. The officer stared at the screen for hours. He never told anyone. But every night after, he dreamt of a galaxy where Earth had stayed. And in every dream, the galaxy was better for it. Asterisk. In the center of the galaxy, the Council met one last time, but something was different. The hall wasn't filled with voices or arguments. There was no shouting. No laughter. Only quiet. Uneasy quiet. Even the chairs felt heavier. A new banner hung behind the Chancellor's podium, white, with no symbols. The emblem of neutrality. It had replaced the older flag, the one that once included Earth's crest among the stars. Now it was gone, and no one dared to ask for it back. Chancellor Ralphon stood slowly. His voice, once strong and proud, was now slow. Careful. We gather here not to declare victory, not to explain. He looked around the hall. So many eyes, but to understand what we lost. No one applauded, because they all knew what he meant. Earth had not attacked. Earth had not begged. Earth had not even spoken. But somehow, everything had changed. Trade networks had collapsed. Technologies became unstable. Allies grew distant. Even the stars felt further apart. A soft chime rang at the edge of the room. A message. Encrypted. Old code. Very old. The technician's eyes widened. It's from them. From who? The Chancellor asked, though he already knew. Technician swallowed. Earth. Gasps echoed across the chamber. The Zervani elder rose quietly from his seat. Play it, he said. A single hologram flickered to life. Not a fleet, not a weapon, just a child. A human child no older than 10, wearing a simple gray shirt, standing. In what looked like a peaceful garden dot, her voice was soft, gentle. "Hello. We are the children of Earth. We heard what you said. We saw what you did, and we chose to step away. Not because we are angry, but because we are done." She paused. The council delegates sat frozen. "We watched your vote. We accepted it. And we listened to your silence afterward. You thought walking away was weakness, but in walking away, we became free. Free to build, to grow, to protect what matters. Without you." She looked straight into the camera. Her eyes were calm. "We don't belong to your council anymore. We belong to something better. Ourselves." The screen faded to black dot. Then one final message appeared. Asterisk, asterisk, when you silence a voice that warned you, the echo becomes a storm. Asterisk, asterisk, the hall remained in stillness. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the air felt heavier. After the session, Chancellor Ralphun stepped outside the grand hall and looked at the stars above. He whispered, "They didn't need us." A voice behind him replied, "No, but we needed them." He turned. It was the Zarvani elder, leaning on his cane. The Chancellor sighed. "How do we fix this?" The elder shook his head. "We don't. You don't fix silence. You just listen and hope it speaks again." Across the galaxy, things began to shift. Old colonies once tied to Earth quietly realigned under new, peaceful banners. Human-designed AIs began assisting only neutral worlds. Independent systems, small and forgotten, started receiving advanced tech. Anonymous, efficient. TERRA-made.Earth was building something new, but not loudly. Not for glory. Not for revenge. For peace. Real peace. One that required no council, no vote. Just distance. On a quiet planet orbiting a red sun, 2 alien children played near a stream. One looked up as a strange figure approached. A tall human in a long coat, with quiet eyes and a calm smile. "Are you from Earth?" the child asked. The human kneeled. "We used to be from Earth. Now we're from tomorrow." The child tilted her head. "Will you come back?" The human looked to the sky. "No," he said softly. "You'll come forward." Then he vanished into the trees. Back in the council's archives, a final note was placed beside the Terran departure record. The note was short, handwritten. Asterisk, asterisk, do not mistake silence for surrender. Sometimes silence is a door, one you were never meant to walk through. Asterisk, asterisk, and that's how it ended. No war. No bombs. No final battle. Just a choice. One made by a species that never needed to raise its voice to change the entire galaxy. Asterisk,